I chose Edwin Henry Landseer as my artist for this project. The reason I chose him was because I was inspired by his painting A Midsummer Night's Dream. I also painted a reproduction of this in Naomi's class and really like the fantasy and sentimental feeling in Edwin's creation, and this is my art here. I speak about Henry's life but also focus a lot on this painting, including a video at the National Gallery. Unfortunately, I couldn't go to the NVG as planned to do the video myself. I found this project really interesting and I learned a lot about research techniques and especially how to use PowerPoint properly, which I worked out on my own. My daughter had to teach me how to put my voice over the video as I feel too nervous presenting the work. I found it great having the extra time in the holidays without distractions from other work. I enjoyed this project. I think I'm addicted to trying to make the PowerPoint photos look beautiful. Credit to Eliza, who let me use a photo that she had taken in London this May, which included the lions at Trafalgar Square. And look out for Prince Albert's red boots. They're awesome. I want some. Sir Edwin Henry Landseer's life summary. Edwin was born on the 7th of March 1802 in London to his mother Jane Potts and his father John Landseer, an engraver. Edwin had one sibling brother, Thomas Landseer. He studied under several artists including his father, who started Edwin sketching animals in the fields at a very young age, and at 13, in 1815, Edward exhibited works and studied for many years. Edwin was a printer and sculptor with his art style being Romanticism. He was mostly known for his animal paintings. He won the Great Gold Medal of the Exposition Universelle in 1855. His paintings were very popular in society and he was a very well-known artist. He painted for the royal family and was knighted in 1850 and socialised with the upper class. Edwin created the 4 gold lions in Trafalgar Square from 1858 to 1867. In his late 30s, he suffered a nervous breakdown but still managed to work. Later in his life, he was declared insane in 1872. He died on October the 1st, 1873. Edwin Henry Landseer was born in London, England on March the 7th, 1802 and died in 1873. He was famous for his paintings of animals, especially his works with dogs. His animal paintings had anatomical knowledge. He studied at the Royal Academy and also learned from his father, who was a writer and engraver, at a young age. His father also believed a formal education was not inspiring to young artists and sent Edwin into the fields to sketch animals. Some of those early sketches are now in museums around the world. At 11, he won the Royal Society of Arts and 13 exhibited at the Royal Academy in London. Edwin's paintings were very popular in society and he became one of the most famous artists of his time. He won many competitions, including the Great Gold Medal of the World Fair in Paris in 1855. It was called Exposition Universelle, not Exhibition. It was a world fair that ran for 6 months and was the first of 10 major expositions in Paris between 1855 and 1937. There were works from 29 countries and about 5 million people entered the exhibitions in 1855 and 32 million between 1855 and 1937. The exposition was very large and covered about 40 acres. The Eiffel Tower was created for one of these later expositions, and here's a poster from that. Edwin's paintings had a lot of sentimentality in them. My view is that this was achieved because of his genuine love for animals. You can see in his paintings what the animals could be feeling. I think he achieved this by moody lighting, a realistic painting style, and the body language of the animals to express emotions. Although there are techniques to produce this, I feel his paintings have an extra bit of magic in them and a spiritual connection to animals. As people would say, they almost look human, and later in his life he would put animals in human clothes and make them look like a person or character. Sometimes these would have political meanings too. He didn't just paint animals. In 1851 he painted a different theme with a scene from A Midsummer Night's Dream based on a play by William Shakespeare showing the fairy queen Titania in love with a man with the head of a donkey, both in the woods surrounded by fairies and enchanted animals. Queen Victoria quoted that the work was a gem, beautiful, fairy-like and graceful. A scene from A Midsummer Night's Dream, Titania and Bottom, interesting name, is an oil on canvas painted in 1851. This was his only painting of a magical fairy scene from the third act of William Shakespeare's play A Midsummer Night's Dream. It has been in the National Gallery, Victoria, Melbourne from 1932. It is 82 times 133 centimetres. The painting is of Queen of the Fairies, Titania. She is the wife of the fairy king Oberon, who were both powerful spirits who put spells on health and fertility to the humans and in the fantasy world. In the painting, she has been given a love potion embracing Nick Bottom, who has had an enchantment spell cast on him by Puck that transforms his head into a donkey. Puck thinks it suits him as he sees him as a rude trade labourer of weaving. Oberon, her husband, reverses Puck's spell. In the painting, they are both observed by other fairy folks amongst flowers and rabbits. It is one of several scenes of Shakespeare commissioned by Isambard Kingdom Brunel for his dining room in 1847. Landseer was paid £450, 860 Australian dollars, and could choose any scene from Shakespeare, so probably chose this one as it was of animals in the subject matter. Isambard Brunel, 9th of April 1806 to the 15th of September 1859, was a British civil and mechanical engineer who was one of the greatest figures of the Industrial Revolution. Landseer sometimes painted animals together to communicate a moral or social opinion. His early works were anatomically correct, but his later ones he added human qualities to his paintings. They also became more sentimental. He was said to be ambidextrous and drew with both hands at once. It was rumoured he could work on a horse tail with one hand while drawing the animal's head with the other. As his art became more popular with society, including families and children, his brother Thomas Landseer helped sell his work to people of all levels of income by producing multiple engravings of his art, and they made a fortune doing this. Edwin became one of the most famous artists of the time, mixing with exclusive society members, including Sir Walter Scott, Charles Dickens and William Thackeray. He created many portraits for Queen Victoria and Prince Albert and their children and pets, even giving them etching lessons. The Queen knighted Edwin in 1850. This painting is of Prince Edward and Queen Victoria, painted in 1840 to 1843. It's an oil on canvas and is 113.3 times 144.5 centimetres. Edwin had a good relationship between the royal family and their dogs. The painting is in a drawing room at Windsor Castle, a medieval castle used as the principal royal residence at the time. The subject matter is of Victoria and Albert and their eldest child, also called Victoria. The Skye Terrier, called Carnache, would also go on to be painted by Edward in 1842 as a Christmas present from Albert to Victoria. Edwin Landseer was commissioned in 1858 to sculpt in bronze 4 lions in Trafalgar Square, beneath Nelson's column. Edwin was a painter, not a sculptor, but because of his fine work and anatomical knowledge of animals, and also his popularity, especially in the elite societies, he was chosen for the grand works. Edwin had visited the Tower of London Menagerie, which is a zoo, and sketched and painted lions as he had a great fascination for them. One of the sculptures is of Nero, an old lion from the zoo. Creating the Trafalgar Square lions provided a lengthy process and attracted some ridicule in the press. He was still making studies of lions in London Zoo in 1862, as late as 4 years after the commission started. The London Zoo was called the Tower of London Menagerie. In 1828, it was open to only society members, then opened its doors to the public in 1847. The process of drawing and working out designs for the sculptures was difficult, and the idea of the lion's demure changed. At first standing and roaring, to then a sitting, more regal pose to reflect Nelson's dignified heroism. Although he was a society figure, his mental health was unstable, as he often suffered from depression and breakdowns, and sometimes even left commissions unfinished. He had a major breakdown at 30 and never fully recovered. Edwin still worked all through his life and had many friends in high society. In his later years, he became an alcoholic and was admitted into a psychiatric ward for insanity in 1832. He then died a year later in 1883. When Edwin died, many people hung their flags at half-mast and lined the streets to farewell him. The Trafalgar Square lions he sculptured also had wreaths hung around their necks. His funeral was a national event and he was buried at St Paul's Cathedral in London. The bibliography is from many sources on the internet. The more I looked, the more I found. It was very interesting searching for all different kinds of information about Edwin. The total amount of a spoken word in the assignment is exactly 1,500. Thank you for listening to my PowerPoint video today.